So I started with this My Father, the Judge cigar about an hour ago. I've always said I wanted to do a cigar review with extreme rain in the background, and I think this will have to do, as it's coming down pretty hard here in Weehawken. Perfect for a cigar review, in my opinion. So, in the beginning, removing the foot band, there's a secondary band that I've already removed, as you can see, and then there's the primary band. There were some burn issues. It wasn't as clean and even as I would have liked it to have been getting out of the gate, but they did correct themselves, and they unfortunately required one minor touch-up. Once I got past that, we started into the flavor of the cigar. Cedar hints, creamy cocoa. It was very smooth, very creamy from the beginning. And although I have to say I haven't found the transitions that I normally find in My Father cigars, I think this cigar has been pretty consistent from the beginning up until this point, where it's remained medium strength, medium body, hints of cedar, creamy cocoa, nuttiness to it. Yeah, it's just, there's this consistent level of strength that has, as you can see, I haven't ashed it yet, and it's holding very firm. And all of the flavors are just working very well together in maintaining that consistent note, which I like. But again, with the My Father cigars, as well as other premium cigars, you sometimes come to expect certain transitions in flavor and certain complexity. I'm not getting that yet, but that doesn't mean that it isn't here. There's obviously still a lot of cigar left to smoke. It's been handling the heat very well. I've got to say that has to be due to the ring gauge size. I'm going to recall that it's either a 60 or a 62. So I opted for the guillotine flat cut. Struggled for a moment thinking I might do a V cut, but I figured I want to get the most out of this, and I want a larger surface opening. So I went with that cut, and I'm very glad that I did. With the larger ring gauges, sometimes you don't know. You know, it's just, you just have to try it. So I gotta say, it's smoking very warm, cool to the touch. And as I approach the main band, but have quite a bit left on it, I'm noticing it's picking up just a bit of strength. It's definitely changing just a little bit. Sharp cedar notes, some light spices, the cocoa's there, the creaminess is still there. It's just a little amped up, and it's providing a very smooth and pleasurable smoke. It definitely, I would say so far, is a really good cigar. MSRP is $14.99, and in some places you might get it $1 or $2 less. Value is something that people, and as I said that, the ash just comes tumbling down, luckily right into the ashtray. Value is to some people is pretty much sometimes in line with how much money they make and how much they can afford sometimes to spend on premium cigars. Whether it's that you want a really good cigar at an $8 price range, $8 to $10 price range, that smokes like something which is more expensive. That's not uncommon to hear. You find that in the whiskey world, you find that in a lot of different areas where people want to pay for something that is going to taste or feel like something that costs a lot more. You feel like you're getting a bargain because you are. You're pretty much getting the bargain for the time being. Sometimes, though, you do need to pay a little bit more to get that certain level of quality that some people look for. Is this cigar a special occasion cigar? I'd say that it could be. I would probably say more attuned to a special I wouldn't think of this cigar as a special, I'm having a child. I wouldn't even go as far as to say this is a birthday cigar. It's just a good all-around cigar for a good day, for a day like today. It's not disappointing. And it certainly still has remained very smooth. It hasn't changed much in terms of body. A little more strength, but more or less the body's the same. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to finish the final third, and we'll see how this transitions, and if this is a cigar that will end on a very high note, or if it will just remain as consistent as it's been from the very beginning. I like to think that this is going to prove me wrong, and that it's going to be an amazing finish, and that we're going to see all of those wonderful transitions that we see in My Father cigars and other premium cigars. But the jury's still out for the judge. So I'm back, and I'm still puffing along. This is actually moving very well. It's burning very evenly. Really wanted to touch back just to say that I expected more. It has a much more intimidating, and then just with the reputation of My Father cigars and the type of cigars that they produce, sometimes they can be nicotine bombs, and sometimes they just provide a full-flavored, heavy body that you can appreciate after a nice meal, full, nice big meal, or a strong black cup of coffee, as I'm having right now. And for those intents and purposes, I think this cigar is great still, because of the reputation and the expectations that one has, specifically for, but not always including, the fact that you pay a premium, you pay $15 for a cigar, you expect a little more transition. I think this cigar is great still, because of the reputation and the expectations that one has, specifically for, but not always including, the fact that you pay a premium, you pay $15 for a cigar, you expect a little more transition. So I'm back, and the finish has provided some zips of pepper and spice. Creaminess has turned into sort of that musty hay type that you get from aged tobaccos. Bit of a barnyard finish to it. I mean, overall, the transitions were short, and yeah, a little sweetness in this finish with the little bits of pepper really do well for it. The wrapper's gotten really oily towards the end, towards the nub. Uh, Earlier, I had some minor burn line issues, which corrected themselves rather quickly. This ash, I feel, is about to fall off, so I'm just going to gently let it go. Is it nub worthy? Let's see. I gather it is. I gather that it is, depending on how you feel about it. If you like a full flavored cigar, you're not going to mind smoking this down to the nub. I think that, again, it's been a good cigar. You know, earlier I may have used the word great, and perhaps I was a little eager in praising the fine points of the cigar, which it has many fine points to it. But I think this is a cigar that an aficionado could enjoy, as well as a newbie who is transitioning from a lighter cigar to a much more full-flavored cigar. And I think that this is, perhaps in my opinion, a tad bit overpriced. I get with the heavier ring gauge, you're going to stack this with a lot more tobacco than you would your typical Robusto. So perhaps that might be another reason why the price is a little higher. Also, the brand, My Father Cigars. And I think they put a lot of work into these cigars. You always hear about the amount of work that goes into making a fine premium cigar, and you hear about the exchange of hands and all of the hands that touch your cigar before you actually get to smoke it. And with that being said, I think sometimes you have to look at it from that angle, in that although it may cost a little more than you might want it to, they have a bottom line as well. Going back to my original theory on what a lot of people like to do, and that is find a cigar that costs about $8-10 and find one that pretty much smokes like a $20 cigar, because you have them. AJ Fernandez produces quite a few. You might find quite a few from La Flor Dominicana, and Padron obviously has quite a few good cigars in their 1926 series that are very, very good cigars. They're world-class cigars, and you're not paying as much. Now, with Padron, I think you're still going to pay a heavy premium, 10 to 14, 10 being probably the cheapest that you'll find it at, and that'll be a very small cigar. But there you really get all of that value in the cigar that you know is always going to be good. You have to find what you like and try to find similar cigars within a certain price range that are going to meet your expectations. Again, it's still very smooth, down to the finish, down to the nub. It isn't letting off any kind of extreme nicotine. I think it's still a bit creamy. The body has picked up, which is obvious when you get down to the nub. But technically speaking, there's still a lot of cigar left in this. There's still a lot of tobacco in here, and it's been heavily influenced, and all of the fine points of the cigar are here, still present, and providing, if I may say, a pleasurable smoke. Even with me pulling on it a few more times than I should within the suggested time recommended, I feel that it handles the heat very well. My fingers are in no danger. I don't feel any kind of extreme heat coming off of this cigar, even when I put my finger down almost near the burn line. And it's still very smooth. I think I've said that. You can play a drinking game to that, because when you expect a cigar to really transition in the final third, and it does, but it still remains fairly consistent with just a fine smoke, fine draw. The draw has been great. I haven't had any draw issues whatsoever, and that's always a good thing. So I'm going to say goodbye and finish this little nub. I don't expect that there'll be any transitions, but if there are, I'll make sure to make a note of it and add a little something extra in regards to the final part of this nub. But I expect it to be more or less what it has been, and I'm going to say that this is a good cigar. You can definitely taste the My Father brand reputation in it. It's in that profile, of course, and they're very good cigars. So this was my very first cigar review. I'm a little rough around the edges. I still have a little bit to learn. I know a little something, but there's always a lot more to learn, and I thank you for watching. I thank you for putting up with the rain in the background, and sayonara.